such a big issue, if not has become the number one issue in the campaign. It is the
issue.
Yeah, well, they have the federal government produced a budget which had, if you like, a 3 to 6 month solution. Let's face it, you're happy enough to go out and say that. But you're the alternative Prime Minister now. What's your long-term solution to this issue? We're going to cop interest rate rises, as you pointed out. Petrol, I mean, would you extend past 6 months the excise cut, for example?
Well, Andrew, this government has baked in that change in 6 months' time. But what we've looked for...
But you could extend it.
What we've looked for, yeah, but at a cost to the budget, at a fiscal cost. So we've been cautious, but what we've aimed at doing is productivity reforms that make a difference. So our childcare policy, for example, will take pressure off families. By no family will be worse off under our policy, but most families will be much better off into the future. And what that does is a permanent change. What I know, Andrew, is that when I go around and talk to families, so many of them have said to me, when my son, Johnny, or little Mary turns 5 and goes into kindergarten, all of a sudden we're better off because we're not paying childcare costs. Why is it that that's the case?
Common experience.
There is so much pressure on families with their kids in childcare.
All right, but
our policy will reduce the cost of childcare permanently for most families. Our policy on energy, we have our Rewiring the Nation policy. You used to ask me, Andrew, about our 2030 target. You don't anymore, and nor do other journalists.
All right.
Our policy for powering the nation will reduce household energy costs by $275 for households and have a much more significant decrease in costs for businesses wanting to then drive through that change into having industry policy of having more jobs created by manufacturing more things here.
How are you
That's about how you deal with the cost of living through reform.
Understand, but how are you going to lift wages? I mean, Bob Hawke had his accord. What have you got? You don't seem to have a magic bullet on this front other than saying they're too low.
Well, I've got a full employment summit that I'll have to bring business and unions together.
And what are you hoping to achieve out of that?
I announced at the National Press Club. Well, what we saw was the Business Council and the ACTU get very close to an agreement that would boost productivity. The way that you lift wages and lift profits can only be through productivity. That's how you can get a win-win. And that's what I'm keen on. But I'm also keen on other reforms that we've said we'll have. Making wage theft a crime, proper definition of casualisation, same job, same pay, making sure that people in the gig economy don't get left out as well, making secure work an objective of the Fair Work Act. All of these changes are, of course, ones that were foreshadowed more than a year ago. And in addition to that, for some specific industries like aged care, we've said that, in line with the Royal Commission, there needs to be an increase in wages to keep people in the sector.
Nearly out of time, just a couple of quick ones. Jim Chalmers, in his comment on the tax cap, sort of indicates Labor will tax more or take more taxation.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't do that at all.
Well, what did he say?
What his indication is that neither side of politics will reach the tax cap, that it's a bit of an academic thing. We've made it very clear that the only tax measure that we're looking at is around multinationals. We will certainly
What is that measure, by the way? What are you going to do?
We'll announce that, Andrew. We're at day one. We've got 6 weeks. And we've got to fill the 6 weeks, Andrew. Otherwise, you'll be bored after a few days.
Well, pretty good start today, news-wise.
And we want to keep you interested. We want to
I'm interested. Don't worry about that.
We want to keep you focused.
How often do you talk to Kevin Rudd?
I haven't spoken to him for a little while. He's overseas.
So we won't be seeing the invisible hand of Kevin Rudd in this government. He's not one of your mentors when it comes to if you were to gain power.
Oh, look, Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, Paul Keating. All of the former Labor Prime Ministers I respect. I have contact with all of them from time to time, but I haven't spoken to either Kevin or Julia for a while because they're both overseas. The last former Labor Prime Minister I spoke to was Paul Keating. I went and visited him at his office. He's always good company, and I'm always happy to chat with people. And I've spoken to Kim Beazley, was actually the last Labor leader that I spoke to.
Now, I expect you to, if you were elected, to make Richard Marles Defence Minister. Is that fair?
No, well, look, I expect that people will fill the current positions that they hold.
So Christina Keneally's Home Affairs Minister and Brendan O'Connor's
I expect
rock
that,
solid guarantee.
No, well, that's my starting point. That's my starting point. And we don't know who the health minister will be in the government. And we've learnt this. I still can't work out this bizarre thing where Alan Tudge is still in the cabinet, but he stepped aside. Is he being paid or not? Like, I don't know what's going on there.
Now, look at the poll, the news poll. I did ask you about it. You still sounded confident this morning. But would you agree the trend is not your friend here? I mean, if there's a close election in Australia, the incumbent tends to win.
Well, elections are always close in Australia, Andrew. That's the truth. But we
he's
have been,
closing.
We have been. Well, their primary vote did nothing. There was a 1 point drop in our primary vote in the news poll. Look, what I'm focused on is putting forward a clear alternative. We have our themes. It's about a better future for Australia. No one held back, no one left behind. We have policies for strengthening Medicare. We have policies for more secure work, policies for making more things here, and policies to address the cost of living, like cheaper childcare and cheaper energy bills. We'll keep doing that. We'll keep advocating that throughout this 6 weeks. And I'm very confident that Australians will embrace our sense of optimism, that we can be a better country if we have a better government.
Do you think you'll be making any more mistakes in the next 6 weeks?
Well, Andrew, I made an error this morning. I fessed up to it. I owned it. I accepted responsibility. Let's see what happens with the other side of politics. I accept that happened. I'm human. Will I be perfect? No. But I tell you what I'll do, Andrew, is that if I ever do make a mistake, I'll put my hand up, I'll own it, I'll take responsibility, and I'll set about fixing it. That's what I did today, and that's the way that I would approach being Prime Minister of this country.
Anthony Albanese, thanks for your time.
Thanks, mate.